And our first player sitting here in the bottom right-hand side of Fora, representing Team Cap with a temporary sponsorship. Thanks to Coca for that one. He is the blue Terran player, MarineLord.
And he faces off against the red Terran in the Northwest, a seasoned, grizzled StarCraft veteran as well. He is Koss. Playing for Team Star. I don't know. StarCon. Oh, okay. Still StarCon. All right. Those guys have been around forever.
Yeah. So we've seen I'm not afraid to go mech in these matches. MarineLord, I believe he's mainly been on the mainstream, but he's mainly been playing bio, right? Do you expect to see bio versus bio, mech versus mech? Where do you stand on the differences, and what do you where do you put the Marooners? What do you think would be the better choice, and why, Nate?
I think playing mech is probably the easiest way to lose to somebody who's not as good as you in this matchup, because as strong as it can be, there are many early game windows where players will just bully people. And my mind goes back to games like Hero Marine versus Bunny, where Bunny just played mech and it's like, okay, well, Hero Marine is very good and knows how to kind of punish and put that early pressure on. So Koss kind of tucks his racks back in his main. He wants MarineLord to think that he's cheesing him or proxying him. He wants him to feel the fear and not do anything greedy or aggressive, for that matters, because he doesn't just caught off guard by proxy. If the SCV checks the whole base, which, I mean, it really should, he would know, but because he doesn't, look, already the command center gets built inside of the main base, so he's already showing a little bit. And I like smart stuff like that. Koss is a smart guy, and the thing is, because you would never really send your Reaper across the map in this situation if you're MarineLord and you think you're being proxied. You would never send your Reaper across the map. So because of that, he immediately built a reactor with that barracks. So you can go double Reaper, straight to Hellion, straight to Medevac. And I assume that this is going to be one of those Reaper, Hellion, Medevac, rush type builds. It could also be like a Liberator, but the SCV comes in and does finally see it now. And he knows this is all very important information to have, and he's gonna be like, oh, okay, well, I could have built my command center on the low ground. This is a little bit silly, but at the end of the day, when you see this, I think he'd really like to see the Reapers. If I was Koss, I wouldn't want to show that I was building Reapers out of the reactor barracks, just because you want your opponent to think that it's gonna be like he's just faking you out and he's gonna expand. But that doesn't really seem to be the case, right? Like, he's immediately getting a tech lab on the factory, so he might be looking to build a tank and then try to fly it across the map too.
Yeah, I like Koss. I mean, of course, he's not picked up a game-winning advantage by any means here, but in these mirror matchups where you have the same pools, every inch you can gain can end up giving you a mile. So we do see Koss just poking up here at the front, seeing the CC on the low ground. He'll be happy with the fruits of his labor. He hasn't started the CC at all yet. If I'm correct. No, he's just sitting on the one. So he's trying to produce quite a lot of units. And yeah, we're going to see that Medevac head across the map.
This is the smartest thing that he could do, though. It's going to be with a Cyclone in there. And then I think he wants to probably do a little swap-a-roni and either get a Raven or a Banshee. Okay. Yeah. Raven is like the de facto for this matchup, because it's like a Swiss Army knife for TVT. But yeah, you also just kind of caught me off guard there. Sometimes I forget there are folks from the other side of the pond that do use our terrible imperial measurement system. And you said you're talking about inches and miles, and I'm like, oh my goodness.
We do have the
having a good time today.
You're just wrong. This drop now going to come into the main. There is a Viking here that will be able to help stop a little bit of this damage. The Cyclone is going to lock on to the Viking and take that down, but it's now stuck in no man's land, and this really didn't work out here from Koss. MarineLord with an incredible defense so far. He does have the pull probes the naturally. He is missing a few down there, which of course is a bit of a downside to this, but not too bad here from MarineLord in terms of the defense, I think.
Well, you consider that the command center is only just now finishing for Koss, which means that there's at least 30 seconds now where MarineLord will be able to be building 2 SCVs at a time. So even though he killed enough workers to bring it close, MarineLord, by the time, maybe within like a minute or two, he should still be like maybe up to 7 workers ahead of his opponent, assuming that he's building consistently, because Koss just had like this really long delay on that. And we're starting to see that worker discrepancy grow a little bit. It doesn't really matter in TVT. Like, the economy is not really the biggest factor in this matchup unless you do game-ending damage early on, because for the most part, it's your, you know, it doesn't cost a lot of money to build a tank and a Raven at once. Having a 7-worker advantage doesn't give you the ability to just build, you know, 2 tanks at once all of a sudden out of nowhere. So even with the early little bit of a setback that Koss had, he still can get the Raven tank set up. He can still take that 3rd command center inside his base. And as long as he plays well, jockeys for position properly, he's not going to be in, I think, too exposed of a position. And MarineLord's like, yeah, I'm just going to start my 3rd command center. There's no reason to throw the game away trying to kill him here after I defended that attack. Even though he has a nice army, like, you know, the army supply still ends up being really close because the units that take the most supply are what you prioritize. You can build them with 38 or 43 SCVs.
Yeah, Kath as well, adding on that 3rd CC, and it does look like we're having a bit of a stalemate. Right now, the middle of the map pretty empty. MarineLord has a couple of units here to see if he can get some information, but no real committal. Tim on the way here from Cass. We've not seen that come in just yet here from MarineLord, but he is adding on those extra racks and eBays, indicating we're definitely getting bio versus bio here on Death Aura. And so a big thing we talk about in TVT very often is the air control, right? Both players did stop at 2 Ravens, and now we go into Viking production. How do you determine what the right number is? Because this is something I can never quite get my head around. Sometimes
there is no such thing as too many Vikings in TVT. They are that good. Medevacs are nice, but at the end of the day, even if you had 8, you know, you're like, oh, instead of having 6 Vikings to bully, I have 6 Medevacs. It's like the Medevacs don't stop your Marines from getting blasted to smithereens by siege tanks. The Vikings give your tanks vision to actually fire because you don't have infinite scans, right? So I personally think that the best way to play this, at least until you're like situated on 3 bases and you can have like large groups of Marines that you can kind of push those Vikings way more easily or get big spread engagements. Building a lot of Vikings early game in TVT is the standard now because they also just absolutely murder siege tanks if your opponent tries to get your Vikings with Marines and then they get blown up by the tanks.
And Viking count currently favoring our red Terran player, who is pushing out a little bit here behind his 3rd base. A very wise man once said, when you attack, you should expand behind. We can see lots of Marines being produced here. The Marine count does favor MarineLord by about 10. The 10 count for Kath here is really, really good. And having 7 Vikings for the 4, this could certainly be a window for Kath. If he gets those right interference matrices, maybe. If he finds the right angle, if his tanks get those magic shots off, Kath could find some damage here. I think if he doesn't win the game by any means, he is still down a little bit in supply and down, as you said, about 7 workers. But Kath is a nice push loading up here.
And there's a bunch of interference matrices to hold that army back. At the same time, he does get Dorito cannoned, but the power units are still alive in the back, and they're still doing tons of damage. Auto turret gets dropped. I'd land the Vikings here. Koss hitting a razor sharp timing with this push with the Ravens. And see, this is what I was talking about. Despite any discrepancies or differences in the earlier stages of the game, you always have to consider the fact that those power units have the ability to make huge swings, and he kills a tremendous amount of the economy of MarineLord. And at the same time, he did also, it's not like he just suicided, YOLO'd in, killed a bunch of stuff and lost his whole army without damaging anything. He reset the tank count for MarineLord. MarineLord has 0 tanks, 0 Vikings, 0 medevacs. He only has Marines and 1 Cyclone, whereas Cass has 3 tanks back home. A counterattack would be silly at this point because there's also no Ravens for MarineLord now to try and do a similar type of push into that 3rd base. So all of a sudden, even though the supply is favoring MarineLord, the supply that Koss has is significantly more valuable at this point in the game. If 24 tanks try to charge, or 24 Marines, excuse me, try to charge into 3 tanks, you're going to see 24 Marines die.
Upgrades finishing across the board here. MarineLord having a slight advantage. His 2-2 about a quarter of the way done, which I completely agree. Not although he did end up losing that army, he traded out against those key units. You said the heavy units, the important ones.
He killed all the valuable units.
Yeah, all the valuable units. So the Vikings went down. Did the Ravens die? Yeah, of course they did. Everything died. Now, Ravens have been reset. There are none on the map anymore. So those interference matrices have been gone. Nice spot the Marine here from MarineLord. Does look like you probably get vision of that. It would have been pretty close.
Yeah, I was going to say, I'm not sure. We didn't say, Marines don't have the largest vision radius of units in the game, but I did think he would bot that. Is this one Cyclone? He's roaming. Cyclone's got 10 kills. Wants to go out with a bang when eventually he gets caught by the army. Cost is going to get a drop in, too. Yeah. No sensor tower there since he didn't see it with the Marine somehow.
Yeah, that Marine maybe just missing out on MarineLord not paying attention. He's playing so well. 5 workers go down for not even a full medevac's worth of Marine. 8 workers in the end, as tanks committing a little bit damage there. A nice pick here from Cass, who now takes the 7 worker lead. Boy. First time in the game. He has a planetary here. Where are the tanks? Are they sieged up? Oh, this is going to be a big risk here for MarineLord, I think.
You know, this is quite an interesting position, though, because MarineLord's 2-2 is about to finish, which means with a 2 upgrade advantage with bio, you know, this is my favorite thing to say over and over again my whole career. When you have better upgrades with Marines versus Marines, you don't just win, you slaughter. It all becomes about the tanks. Somehow Koss has managed. He's reached around and pulled him back in. Oh, he unsieged a few of the tanks. I did not like to see that, but actually beautiful positional move by Koss, despite the fact that if his Marines, like even with a couple Marines down, if MarineLord gets a straight up engagement without all the tanks firing on his bio, he will rip Koss's bio to pieces. But Koss has just done such a good job of using his siege tanks in this game. Is kind of taking some of the I don't even know what the word is here, but the mechanics of playing mech into this matchup. But yeah, he's fighting with 1-1 versus 2-2. His whole army's gonna die.
And as Nate says, when you fight with Marines that have an upgrade disadvantage, you do not just die, you get slaughtered, and that was an absolute slaughter. Just dropped 30 supply in a heartbeat, and it was a really bad time to fight, right? And 2-2 was getting more closer and closer to done. He could have the time to retreat from that, in my opinion. So Cass maybe a little bit of indecisiveness there, not sure whether he needs to take these fights or not. Meanwhile, we do see both players have gone up to 4 bases, and 3-3 already starting for MarineLord. This upgrade playing such a huge factor in this game, and now MarineLord going for the throat. Can he take it, Nate?
Yeah, he needs to get his tanks in range. This still is, you know, the way that TBT works. The strength of the Marine in this matchup is still heavily balanced by the siege tank, because they're with no upgrades, with all the upgrades, it doesn't matter. Tanks are always going to 2-shot Marines. So if you have enough tanks to rain that splash down, sure, yeah, +1's going to maybe do a little more damage for the splash, but at the end of the day, it really comes down to having enough tanks, and he's gotten them into a good place outside this 4th. The planetary is going to contribute a little bit to the defense, but if he could get the tanks, and he does, I think that's all the tanks killed. He can just move the siege tanks up to the planetary, and then what are you going to do now? You're going to have to charge into, is that 6 siege tanks Koss has outside his 4th? Or should be MarineLord has outside Koss's 4th.
Koss has a couple of tanks coming into production right now. He's trying to move them over so he can take this fight. But of course, neither of them have Vikings to really support their air units here. We see the medevac start to go down. A big step from Koss. Maybe this is going to work out. So many tanks there, Nate. That's a pretty good fight for Koss now. But we do have action down on the south side.
Oh my God, yeah, exactly. Oh, I was gonna say, like, I can't believe he's actually able to hit him on the other direction in the middle of all of this, putting on tremendous pressure. The upgrades are even, so with the spreads, Koss is able to clean a lot of this up. But the biggest thing I actually wanted to point out, on that siege of the 4th base of the planetary, I think the smartest thing Koss did, he's repairing the planetary, and I guess this is more of a blunder from MarineLord, but he never stopped target firing the planetary. Several of his tanks were still shooting the planetary while all those Marines charged in with the tanks. And I actually think if he had used like a stop command to reset the AI so that they would actually shoot the units coming at them instead of the planetary, I think he might have actually been able to kill a lot of Koss's army there. But a slight hiccup there, a slight hitch, opens the door for him to get some work done.
Small pause in the game, guys. We'll be back with that momentarily. Just have a small issue, a spec issue here that we're going to get sorted. Meanwhile, the game supplies very, very even, 162 to 158. Nate, do you still think MarineLord has a slight lead? His +3 weapons has finished up.
Yeah, the upgrades in TBT are always going to be the #1 thing that I'm going to key in on. He also has a really nice economic position. Without diving too deep into the status of the game, there's a couple of fights, though. MarineLord has definitely slipped up a little bit, I think. Yeah. I think some of those missteps, like the planetary, are him just being like, yeah, I can kill this. But he's like, no, he has like 20 SCVs repairing it, and all the bio is charging in. So if you don't retarget fire those 6 tanks to blast the bio, the Marines are pretty good units. They will kill the tanks if you let them shoot them. So it's just been a hell of a first map, though, to be honest. I was kind of worried that Koss might fumble on that first push. I was kind of worried that he might, overextend or you know what I mean? Like just kind of make one of those things where you're like, ah, yes, that's why he's not the favored player. But no, he's cosplaying a hell of a game. We're back in. The game is running again, and it's been a very entertaining map to watch because I feel like Koss is playing a lot better than he usually does.
Yeah, I agree. And Koss tweeted, I believe, yesterday or the day before, that he's just happy that in the advanced stages of his career, that he can still take games to these top pros. And in this TVTs, I mean, he went 2-1. He lost 2-1 to Ufernal, arguably one of the top Terran players in not just Europe, the world. He's really going toe-to-toe here with MarineLord. Koss's form, specifically in this matchup, I'd say, still pretty good. And despite the fact of this tournament not going too well, I mean, he's still playing for $125 every series, right? At least. So it's quite coming in right now, though, Nate.
Yeah, I think he overestimated his position there. MarineLord gives up a good chunk of his bio. And now I start to get worried because he did have the upgrade advantage, but some of the tanks were pre-sieged. And the biggest thing that I'm thinking about right now is just that Koss is actually going to get his 3-3 together. So it needs to become about something more. And I think we're about to see this TVT transition into the mass tank versus mass Viking phase, because once you've locked down the map against Marines with all the units that can blow them to pieces, it becomes quite hard. Koss takes one step forward and immediately gets blasted. But it's like, what are you going to do now with that other than going into Liberators? But you can't go into Liberators until you have air control. So you got to build a ton of Vikings. And then once you get enough Vikings, it becomes very hard to drop or do anything like that. So the game slows down real fast.
We see Advanced Ballistic finishing off here for MarineLord. In terms of Liberators, only one so far. He has built a lot of Vikings. That has allowed him to get air control. Right now we see the Viking count 14-4 in favor of the French Terran player in blue. Just trying desperately to trade efficiently, but of course, as soon as the Vikings go down, the Liberator rules the sky, and that means tanks have to sit so far back behind Marines, they can no longer edge forward. And MarineLord doing a good job of just pushing Koss back for now. Now, Koss does have 3-3. He is producing Vikings once again. How many starports is Koss running off right now, Nate? We're looking at just one as opposed to the 3 of MarineLord. Is that a mistake? Do you think there should be more at the point?
Yeah, you definitely need to make that transition. The only thing that you can do if you're not going to do that, you'll never win the straight up fight right here, right? Because look, MarineLord's already with his Liberator taking out some of the tanks.
This
Liberator's got 7 kills. You just got to yeet yourself into the enemy. This is actually the best thing that Koss can do. His army is so much more mobile, so much more fast. He's able to get big pickups here. 21 SCVs killed. A command center is going to die as well. He could try to YOLO into the main next, but so with all this bio that's stemming back, MarineLord hasn't had the time to be able to use his medevacs to heal those Marines. So his bio is actually coming in at a health disadvantage, and that's allowing Koss to get even more work done. I'd say maybe even try to boost the medevacs away and leave the Marines here to fight. Yeah, that's going to be the smart thing to do, and a pretty tremendous blow dealt. But the biggest thing to consider now is he resets. It is easier to rebuild the Marines than it would be to rebuild all the tanks and all the Vikings and all the Liberators.
And the medevac, Koss has none left.
Yeah, so, that's what's really going to hurt him at the end of the day. The medevacs, I think, the most, but his army is still massive. And the best thing he could do would be probably just yeet himself at MarineLord again, because his army is a little bit too technical and a little bit less meaty.
That Koss does seem to have the high ground here for now, but the Viking numbers, once again, just favoring MarineLord so much. The supply generally, in terms of army, favoring MarineLord, but Koss is up 19 workers right now, so if he can buy time, if he can stabilize defensively, he's going to be able to take this game that little bit longer and trade that a little bit more efficiently. Resources lost right now do favor MarineLord, but it's very close now, and this fight is going to be so hard for Koss.
Well, this is the problem with actually just doing the siege versus siege, is you're going to have an opponent who's got a crazy number of Liberators sieging up on you, and they're backed up by their own siege tanks. He does kill all the Liberators, but at what cost? GG is called, and the cost was Koss. MarineLord takes game number 1. Brutal.
Great, yeah. I mean, it was a good showing from Koss. There are moments where he took such great fights, and I love to see, as you said, him just yeet into that third base of MarineLord, where he picked the base. He killed like 8-9 Vikings. He killed 20-odd SCVs. It takes big cojones to even go for something like that. As you said, sometimes you've got to do it. And Koss showed that he's more than capable. We now move into map 2, which is going to be Pillars of Gold. Pretty standard map pool again here for this TVT. What does Koss need to do differently, Nate?
I mean, if you want to play that style, he just needs to move his next army out. Even without the medevacs, he's still... You don't really have much choice, right? Like, The tanks and the Liberators and the Vikings are all great, but they are pieces that need to be set and locked in place. So you could see how things started to look like he was about to steal the game away from him with that big counterattack into the third, killing the command center. But the problem with stuff like that is your opponent clears it up, and then they're still going to go try to siege outside your base immediately again. And you have to have the awareness to be like, look, I've got 40 Marines and 6 tanks. I have no air units at all. I have no medevacs. I have no Vikings. I have no Liberators. And I only have 1 starport. So I cannot actually even try to acquire all of these units right now because I also, you know, I need to build more Marines and tanks too. So there is no universe where you're going to be able to stop somebody who just sieges 6 tanks. It has them covered, has 6 Liberators with range covered by those tanks. And then also Vikings. Like you're just, no, the only thing you could do is what Koss did, which was run into a meat grinder. So if he had been able to like swing around the southwest and get a siege up on the planetary, and then maybe kill the planetary just in time that it's not there when the Liberators try to siege, and then the tanks aren't siege, right? You know what I mean? He has to really try to abuse the immobility because by the end of the game, most of MarineLord's armies was just siege units. Yeah. So it's a tough position to be in because Koss actually really did do a couple of really good things, but he basically needed to have that the other army moving in a different place while that first army was, you know, still actually dealing a lot of damage once it killed the command center. Like you should just stop microing it at that point and do something else.
Some great moments from Koss though. We saw the tank flank, which is always very, very exciting. Koss managing to swing around and get some tanks behind that and MarineLord. That YOLO into the base. Just a great run of things here. Now we will be getting into our next map very, very shortly. It is Pillars of Gold. I believe all of us went for that 2-0 prediction, but Koss making me a bit of a believer. Can he bring it back? We're going to find out. Loading in right now, Nate. It's going to be a fun one, I think.
Ben, that was a hell of a first game. Very excited to see what's brought to the table in game number 2. We are loaded in, ladies and gentlemen, spawning in the bottom left position as the blue Terran player, that T-cap. He is MarineLord.
And his opponent in the top right-hand side of Pillars of Gold, he is the Terran player in the red, representing Ukraine and Starcom Gaming. It's Papa Koss.
Fun match to kick off this TVT series, and game number 2 I'm hoping will be equally entertaining. We've had I think a good mix up of the games so far today. Definitely some fun back and forth matches, some close 2-0s, as weird as that sounds, which is not super normal, and then, you know, some crushing 2-0s like when we started with. But it's been I got plenty of more StarCraft action coming up for you guys today. Lots to watch, lots to do. And what's your favorite thing that you like see in TVT? Do you have like a favorite thing you like to see? Like the tank rush or the BC rush or Free Ravens?
I'm a little bit more simple than that. I like Raven harassment. I just think it's a fascinating harassment tool that we don't see enough. Those auto turrets, if they get behind a mineral line, it's just I just love watching SCVs melt. It's kind of what gets me going.
Crazy.
I'm just happy. I just like seeing SCVs die anyway, in any way possible. We do have Reaper openings across the board here. Everything very normal. The buildings this time been put in all their standard places. But I'll throw the question back at you, Nate. I know you're a mech guy. Is it the BC rush for you?
You know, actually, my favorite thing in TVT pretty much has always just been watching Blue Flame Hellions kill Marines.
Oh, yeah.
Tragically, Hellions have gotten very little love over the years. So outside of like transformation servos, which mostly helps with like TVZ. I miss the days of TVT when I could watch 4GG and he would just go for like a 2 factory Blue Flame Hellion opener every game. And he didn't even need to do run bys. Like someone would try to do some, you know, like the standard, like 10 Marine, 1 medevac, like 1 or 2 tank push. And you'd be like, no, I have 14 Hellions. You're dead. And just kill everything. But I miss the days when Blue Flame Hellions were a little more fun and common to see in this matchup. And tragically, they just aren't. But
MarineLord was a great start. Kafka couldn't get his Reaper to defend then, and 2 SCVs for the first Reaper. That's a proper boo-boo. Yeah, that's a bit better than just a good poke. Not only that, of course, the scout has come in, MarineLord. It's quite scary to ever send your Reaper across the map, because if he ever does it, it comes down to who makes the bigger mistake. Of course, as proxy, you're in trouble. But this Reaper has now killed 3 SCVs, and that should never, ever happen, right?
Beautiful. Well, consider the following as well, right? He's building reactor Hellions. Yeah. And he's got a starport coming in, no tech lab on the barracks. So what do you think he wants to do with these Hellions? Like, it's not every day you just get to run your Hellion straight into your opponent's base and kill all their workers. I assume he wants to do a drop, but you know, you're delaying that when you delay the starport. So he's going to end up having a couple more Hellions, and maybe he could run 2 into the main or 2 into the natural and try to drop. Okay, it looks like he's going to try to run the Hellions into the natural and send the Liberator to the main, which is also fine. Yeah, look at that shift queue path. I guess he wants to siege the natural with it, but he's already set the entire path for it. What an easy unit to use, Grant.
I know, these Terrans have it so easy. Do you know,
shift Q Liberators, baby rage.
Literally, I only have a B, F, and B and C on my keyboard because I only build cannons anyway. So I can't complain. Yeah,
you use the official Protoss controller, right? It only has like 4 buttons on it, I think.
Holy hit with a GameCube controller. That's how easy Protoss is. Now we do see that Liberator popping out here from Cass, gonna be shift-clicked across the map. MarineLord does have a Reaper down to the south here, and there's a very high possibility that these paths cross, which just gives so much information. That's a perfect read here from MarineLord, who can now, he's going to instantly start up that Cyclone. He's just so safe right now, and that early advantage, if this kills any more SCVs, I'm going to scream, mate.
Yeah, he's gotten a tremendous amount of work done. Almost. Little poke. And then the Ravens start coming out. It's funny that you said that, though, because as much as I think Raven Harass is cool, I feel like 99% of games when an opponent dumps an auto turret in my mineral line, I'm like, okay, now I can just A move him because my Raven has 200 energy. He has no interference matrix to stop me.
Yeah. Oh my god, that's so many. But the wall is up. Is that complete? No, right?
That's a nice wall.
That's a beautiful wall. The Liberator going down. MarineLord just picking up everything that is to offer right now in this game.
That's not a full wall, by the way, but it is a wall. It's a wall that allows bio units through, but nothing else.
Nothing else, yeah. Yeah, like a Stalker wouldn't fit through there, but a Zealot would. Yeah, right through the middle. You know, let's be honest. You'd fit through there, I wouldn't. Now we do have a bit of a scout coming in from Cass. MarineLord going to clear that pretty easy. Everything going MarineLord right now. He's up in workers. He is Raven count, the same as his opponent. But his Marines, so many more.
After a year of being trapped in my own apartment, I'm not sure I'll fit through that wall either.
Yeah. Look, mate.
But MarineLord is he's checked off all the boxes, right? Like, he's done everything that you would typically see at this stage. He's adding the racks. He's got his 3rd command center on the way. He has the 2 Ravens set up, plenty of tanks. And as cool as Hellion builds are, this is why you don't see them. Like, Hellions just kind of suck versus what people use nowadays standard. And the other problem is, as well, like, auto turrets are also going to be good against them with their damage output. So you really do need to be careful when you want to play with those types of styles. And I can say, like, that cost is actually going to go into bio at the end of the day, because you kind of sell something with that many Hellions, but MarineLord scans him, so it doesn't matter. He should be more than aware of what's going on.
Yeah, MarineLord as well will be playing that bio style. He does have a few extra racks, so double eBays are down, and we should see those bio upgrades kicking in momentarily. There we go, Stim starts up. MarineLord's 3rd base. Has he started it yet, Nate? It doesn't look like it, or is Cast has? Oh, it's done already in the main. I'm just missing it. But Cast has his going as well. So, I mean, the game, equal workers. There's really, although Cast did get off to a bad start, a lot of his supply is tied up in these Hellions. He's not, like, devastatingly behind. There's still definitely possibilities if MarineLord were to overextend or these Hellions were to find something. I kind of myself don't love Hellions unless it's like Proxy Starport. I think Proxy Starport Hellion has some potential, but
yeah. Well, they're just kind of used for like one-off builds, like Reapers, right? They're just not a unit that's gotten a tremendous amount of love over the years. Got a lot of their base stats are pretty much all the same. So with all the buffs that everything else gets over time, that power creep makes it hard to do work with them. And I think bringing up the supply is important because it is 56 to 52, but 7 Hellions, you know, that's 14 army supply that, unless the Marines are like on move command, the Hellions are going to have a hard time getting a big shot off on like center mass.
Yeah, they're all pretty roughed up as well, right? And with tanks generally in the fold, those Hellions are never, yeah, they're all like 2 tank shots away from just being absolutely slaughtered. And that's not going to be great here for Cass. He would drop that supply quite quickly. I like what he's trying to do, though. He is using them to maintain control of the map. Of course, if a few Marines come out, Cass can just easily take them down. If he can find a run by, especially with this many, a lot of workers could still go down. Like, keeping them alive is definitely worth it. Of course, you don't want to just yeet them in like maybe some other scenarios would like. But yeah, it's hard to look past the fact that
he should just wait for him to move out from the third base, though. Like, and
just go, right?
Point, right? Because that's the hardest part about this map, in my opinion. Like, and in TVT, you know, things are always going to be a little bit easier to handle because you have the same stuff as your opponent. But when you're playing versus Protoss and Zerg, it's hard because you can't really cover the whole third base. But these Hellions get caught on the southeast. Just 2. Yeah, well, you can kind of see the Hellions just don't really end up having too much of an impact, unfortunately.
Kind of bad.
But yeah, that's the big weakness of this map, is that third is incredibly wide open. So if you know that your opponent is moving out, like, you know, right as he steps outside that sensor tower range, if the Hellions were waiting in the northwest, and it's like, boom, just jam them on in. Doesn't matter if they all die, as long as they kill something. Koss scans the main. He's looking for a transition maybe, or something weird. He wants to make him think he's going to doom drop him. I'm not sure, but man.
Hellions finally getting cleaned up here. Now, the tank count does favor that of MarineLord. He has 1 extra, and this is a really difficult position to be sieged up on, because air control heavily in MarineLord's favor. Those interference matrix is absolutely incredible. So many Vikings not able to fight. The tank's not able to fire. It does look like Cass might be able to eventually clean this up here, mate.
MarineLord, I think, overstepping his bounds a little bit. Definitely a bit of a cocky move there to just say, yeah, I'm going to walk into sensor tower range and just siege up on you. And I have an extra Raven, so I won't lose. But almost all the tanks get blown to pieces. And I think the only reason why this series, I don't mean this as an insult in any way, but I mean, this series is a little bit closer than it probably should be, because MarineLord has... You know, he gets ahead and he's like, all right, I'm just gonna chuck it. Let's just see. I don't want to grind this game out. Let me just throw a deep ball and hope I can just end it right now. And I'm like, well, that's, you know, that's a really great way to allow one very aware player to take advantage of you.
I've got to go back to what you were saying earlier, though. During all of that, there is nothing at the third. Just imagine if those Hellions had been able to run in. They would have done so much damage. Cass is going to get the setup. The Dorito kind of very, very nice. There's not many Marines here for Cass, and Marines now getting on top of all of these tanks. It does look like Cass will clean this up. He loses a lot of his power units eventually. A very, very close fight. I think Cass just takes the better of.
I was going to say, should not let that tank sit there. Good cleanup there. But yeah, good use of the Dorito cannon. Siege tanks. So with no armor upgrades, siege tanks have 1 armor by default. So with the anti-armor missile from the Raven, that goes to -2. So if your Marines have +1, they're doing the same damage as if they had like +3 attack.
That's crazy.
Which is absolutely wild, right? So you need to be very careful. That particular ability in TVT is crazy useful, but Ravens are just so unwieldy. You usually don't see people like add another Raven if they lose it to get that ability back.
Yeah, there was a small period of time where you felt like the free Raven opening seems to have died off a little bit now. Now, double tank production coming in here from MarineLord. Cass trying to add on a few more racks. His free is quicker, but I mean, it's really, you're going to struggle to find a window there unless you can hit a very crisp timing. MarineLord taking the high ground here could potentially find a little bit of damage onto the Ukrainians' army. Cass is a little bit surrounded here.
Beautiful dive. The tanks, though, are actually shooting the north side of the army, so they actually don't help the Marines, and the Marines get bowled over, which is going to allow Koss to siege on that 4th.
Yeah, the tank now going to be able to fire up on the 4th here. We can see SCVs probably going to have to be pulled. Cass using the medevac to reposition the tanks. Very, very nice maneuver here. Don't tank from the north, but yeah, they need to make their way down. MarineLord's losing workers, and Cass picking up a small win in this game. This CC is getting very low. The planetary, though, will hold on for now. MarineLord sieges up, and it does look like MarineLord will finally... I don't know, mate.
No, Koss cleans up the tanks. Koss did what MarineLord did not do. He retargeted the siege tanks off the planetary once the engagement started, and he got a pretty favorable trade because of it. I would have liked to see him try to like unsiege the tanks and pick them up with those medevacs, but I'm not gonna get that nitpicky today.
Cup now up in supply. It is all in workers mainly, and it is actually still very close generally. But he does have those 12 extra workers. His free that moment quicker, although it isn't looking like it's going to pay huge dividends here. Nice scan from Cass. Will be able to slow down this missile turret from going up and give the air control here to Cass. MarineLord is going to be able to siege up here and get nice pickup.
Yeah, he's got a good spot. These Marines are going to try to push the ramp a little bit. I like that he leaves the tanks unsieged, doesn't want them to just get sniped. And he's able to save one of them with the medevac because of that. So cute control out of cost. He's got himself a nice supply lead. A little heavy on the SCVs, but runs into some siege tanks and that Liberator. Oh, that Liberator.
Yeah, that Liberator has free reign over the skies. Absolute total control. Finally, some Vikings show up. They will be able to take that down. Fixing the medevac for now. Finally, that Liberator that Nate repeated so many times will go down here. Free is finishing for Cass in just 10 seconds. Can he find a very small window? There's a possibility, although the fight looking like it may have already ran out. 2 seconds, 1 second, and the fight will end. We can see the free here of our blue Terran player will be popping up on the right side of your screen as I am speaking. Please here now. Thank you. And MarineLord maybe taking a slightly better fight there, but again, Cass's economy, he's just mining so much more.
Yeah, I mean, Cost has done a really good job of taking the bases around. He's got, as I said, a pretty silly worker advantage.
Yeah.
Terran versus Terran, should you ever have 90 SCVs? If you're attacking and you're not banking resources, you know, you're spending your money very efficiently. If you can efficiently spend a 90 SCV income, then I'm not going to tell you shouldn't do it, but it does limit the potential of maximum army supply, right? So theoretically, MarineLord could get just a massively larger army and just win with a dominating push, which is my #1 concern at the moment for Cost, just because he is maxed out. He can't make his army any bigger, and even after getting a couple of hits on MarineLord's army, he's actually still behind in army supply.
Cass taking over the sky, and the Marines doing a good job. But the main problem for Cass right now is he really doesn't have any tanks left. He's down to just 1. MarineLord has 9, Nate, and those tanks able to just slow push up right now on Cass. And we saw this happen last game. Cass goes for the Hail Mary once again. They push into the map. This time, MarineLord is prepared. Fool me once, shame on me. Fool me twice. No, I got that wrong. Bugger it. MarineLord takes a great fight, though, and Cass, he's still down in army supply despite being up in upgrades for a small amount of time.
Now, really well done there, actually, by Cost to get the air control back a little bit. And, you know, if you talk about should you have 90 SCVs, well, you've got lots of income to try and replenish what you did just lose. So can't really complain about that as long as you've got the bases to make use of them so that the workers can all be mining efficiently. That is great. He has a tremendous gas income lead, almost 400 mineral or 3 or 400 gas a minute extra coming in, which is always going to be nice. He's getting his ship weapons, his vehicle plating, and now Liberator range. Yeah.
Liberator range not yet researched here for MarineLord could end up being a pretty big piece of the puzzle here to figure out who takes this game. Now, Cass does have his planetary doing a good job of repairing it. There's a lot of Marines and tanks, so as long as MarineLord retargets, as you said, and he does a great job this time, that base falls rapidly. Cass losing some maybe necessary SCVs. He is to be able to push this back and take down a couple of tanks, and this base is in a lot of duress right now. It's going to end up going down, mate.
Yeah, and we're seeing something very similar to what happened in the last game, right? You kind of can't really engage this many tanks, no matter how many tanks or bio you have, without getting jumped. So the best thing for most players is they're going to be like, all right, let's see if I'm better at base trading than you. If I can get into the heart of your production, cut off the head of the snake while also being able to just get enough tanks at home to defend. There really is a lot of opportunity there, but
going home.
Looks like he's going to have a hard time unseating MarineLord from the production. Koss has a siege outside of Planetary, but he's not really in a valuable or premium position on the map.
Now, one thing he does have is that big 360 surround starting to line up. You see it on the map. MarineLord's army is surrounded by a wave of red. If Cass can come in at the same time, split the tank fire, maybe, just maybe, Cass now has air control. He's been able to take down all of the Vikings, and MarineLord is now trapped in this circle of red. He's going to have to find a way to break through. He's trying to send medevacs in. In terms of workers right now, MarineLord has lead, but here comes that big push.
Absolutely beautiful surround onto the army. I cannot believe he's going to be able to kill all of these siege tanks. A beautiful, beautiful surround by Cost, but I have to ask the caster question, Grant, at what cost?
Yeah, passed down to just 46 workers. I mean, he has 38 Marines, now 40 cresting.
How many workers does MarineLord have?
He has a good number of workers, mate. I'm not going to fall for that trap. You can't catch me. Now, this mate's going down as well. Cass is foraging bases. He's lining up for another surround here, but he just doesn't have any workers. MarineLord with that perfectly lovely number. This is a good surround here from Cass, and he has so much in the air. I'm just concerned about the Marine count. Cass even up now.
Is that like the 7th time in 2 games that Cass's reaction has been to just, he's gotten this very weird quick surround on the siege units. He's been very good at flanking. Also, how about this sensor tower in the middle of the map? Yeah, get rid of that.
That was ambitious. I respect it. This Liberator also ambitious with 4 hit points. If this gets like 10 kills, okay.
Oh, there's no turrets. There's 27 SCVs here to kill, so make it rain. One Marine would have done the trick, but unfortunately, Liberators do kill him in 1 hit. So there's a fight happening on the east side as well.
Yeah, the landed Vikings doing huge damage to that armored tank here. So many workers going down. Just one Liberator with 4 hit points just killed 13 workers. He would have died to a single shot from a single Marine, I believe, at this point. But Cass is, I mean, he's doing better. The worker count is now a little closer. Finally, the hero Liberator meets its doom. Cass adding on a lot of Liberators right now. And there's nothing in the air here for MarineLord. This could end up working for the Ukrainian.
Yeah, I like it. Well, he actually also just has better upgrades. So in a Viking versus Viking scenario, the +2 attack is going to be incredible, right? They shoot 2 volleys, they do bonus to armored. That's going to be nice if he has to land his Vikings to help deal with units. The +2 will help because they do double damage versus Terran buildings and mechanical units. Now he gets the siege up on this high ground. There are more tanks here for MarineLord though, so he's going to be able to clear that army out. And Koss is going to tap out GG. And